All right, Dalton, are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay. So, as most of you may or may not know, based on my last speech that I gave in this class, I am a huge fan of my truck, and I like to do regular maintenance and work on my truck. One of those things being an oil change. So, oil changes are very important to the health of your vehicle. They make sure that all of your engine components are moving freely and doing what they're supposed to do. So the steps of an oil change, there's quite a few of them. First thing you need to do, you have to raise your car in some form or fashion. If you've got a lifted truck, you really don't have to worry about it because you can get underneath it. But if you've got a Ford Fusion, you're probably going to struggle. So what I typically like to do, I have jacks and jack stands. So I'll jack the truck up and then slide jack stands under it and let the truck down on the jack stands. Another way that you can do it is you can get some ramps. These ramps will allow you to pull the car up onto the ramps. It's a little bit more steady that way, and then you don't have to really worry about the car falling off of your jack stands. Second step is to remove your oil drain plug. So your oil drain plug is up underneath your car. It looks like a little bolt on the oil pan. On my truck, it's a 5/8 inch socket. My mother's car, it's a 1/2 inch socket. So you're gonna have to kind of figure out which socket or wrench is gonna fit best, and then make sure that when you take it off, you don't strip the bolt, the plug, because my brother did that to his car, and it was just a pain to try to get off the next time, and then we ended up and had to order a new drain plug, and it was just a huge pain. So don't do that. After you get the drain plug loosened a little bit, you're going to take a drain pan. So it's a big plastic container. You can use a bucket, you can use pretty much anything to slide underneath where your drain plug is, and then remove the drain plug the rest of the way, which will allow the oil to flow out of your oil pan. So after you allow all of the oil to drain, you're going to have to choose an oil filter wrench to get your filter off. Now there's a few different types of these. The most common, I would probably say, is an oil filter wrench like this. These are great. You slide it onto the oil filter, and then when you go to torque it off, it tightens down on it, which allows you to get your filter off. Now these wrenches won't work very well on some vehicles. My truck, for example, it's got an oil filter that is actually bigger than the circle on this oil filter wrench, and you can't get it on there. Some other cars, you may not have the amount of clearance to get the filter up and onto the filter if it's next to a manifold or something like that, so that could be an issue for you. So in those circumstances, if you've still got a smaller car, I would recommend something like this. So this is another type of oil filter wrench where it goes down onto your oil filter and then locks into place and then allows you to twist your filter off. It's also got these little ridges, the little teeth that make it good to dig into your oil filter so that you're not going to have any slipping like you would on a filter wrench like that. These are really good for, this is what I use on my truck because it's narrow, it's easy, you can just reach in and torque it off and you're done. Now if you've got something big, semis, tractors, trucks with really big oil filters, you're going to want something like this because it can get up to that big of an oil filter off, which isn't very common, but you will have it sometimes. We use these like on our tractors at work, different farm equipment, you're going to use these for. So once you've decided which oil filter wrench you're going to use, you get your oil filter wrench, slide it onto your oil filter, twist it off. This might take a little bit of torque depending on how tight the person who installed your oil filter tightened it on there. But overall, they should come off fairly easily. After you remove your oil filter, you're going to drain all the oil out of that filter into your drain pan, and then get your new filter and fill it up about halfway with new oil. For my truck, it's 5W20 oil. I use full synthetic because my truck's got high mileage, so that kind of helps to preserve things after it's had a little bit of wear and tear. But you fill it about halfway with oil, and then get some oil on your finger and rub it on the gasket that's on the oil filter. So that's going to allow for your gasket to snug up tight against it, but not so tight that when you go to take it off, it's not going to want to come off. So you get your oil filter on there, and then you replace your drain plug up back underneath your car. After all the oil is drained out, you replace your drain plug, put it back in, make sure that everything's tight, nothing's wobbly, don't cross thread it, don't strip it, and you'll be good. Go back to the top of the car and fill up your oil pan with oil. Typically anywhere from 5 to 7 quarts depending on your vehicle. So a good reason to want to learn how to do this, to change your own oil, is to save a little bit of money. Based on nerdwallet.com, regular oil change prices will cost anywhere from $25 to $100. Higher end being your full synthetic oils with some oil additives and different stuff like that. If you do it yourself, it's anywhere from $25 to $40. So at maximum you're saving $75. Minimum, you're not saving a whole lot, but you're still getting the experience to do it yourself. So, show of hands, how many of you guys think that you could go out right now and change the oil in your car? Okay. Show of hands, how many before today thought that you could go out and change the oil in your car? So I'd say I was pretty successful in making sure that you guys know what you're doing, and
Good job,
when you do it, you're doing it right, and you're doing it the right way so that you don't mess anything up. Yeah, that's how you change the oil in your car. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Dalton.